Hey guys, welcome to the Advancement Through Adversity podcast. I'm your host, Hannah Trueblood, and in every episode, we'll be hearing from real people who have real stories about triumphs and failures. Whether we're talking about physical or mental health, relationships, business ventures, you name it, there will always be setbacks. That is a guarantee. But that's where the magic happens, and that's what we'll be here talking about every single week. I'm seriously so excited to take this deep dive with you. So with that being said, let's get started. Happy Tuesday, guys. I am over the moon right now being able to finally release this episode. I've had it in my back pocket for about 3 weeks now, and it is finally time to show the world this epic interview. It's epic for multiple reasons. First, I flew all the way from Indiana to sunny Los Angeles to do the interview in person. And secondly, Austin, aka LostInVegas, who is our guest today, is a really, really fascinating person. We had an awesome talk, both on air and off air. He has been through it for sure and has a lot of really amazing experiences to share, and just overall really interesting perspective on life. So we talk about what it means to go from an all-star soccer player to a rock star, basically. Austin is somebody that I met years ago when I follow Mod's son, who is one of my favorite musicians of all time, and Austin was working with him, and he went on tour with Mod a few times, and so that's kind of where I got the introduction. And I've been following him and watching him grow as not only just a musician, but also a person. And that is another thing that we kind of talk about in this episode, is just the realization of purpose, the realization of what happiness actually is, and all that good stuff. You're going to have to listen to it. It's a little bit longer of an episode than usual, but I literally couldn't cut any of it out because all of it was so good. So buckle up, listen in, and also make sure that you follow Austin, LostInVegas on socials, all of that. It's going to be in the show notes. And yeah, I really hope that you enjoyed this episode, and I have nothing else to say, so let's just get started. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
This is, everybody are hearing the wonderful voice of Austin, better known as LostInVegas.
Yeah, this is my voice.
That is your voice. So we are out in sunny Los Angeles today, overlooking an awesome pool and
yeah, the view is nice.
The mountains and all of it. This is a really cool spot. So thank you so much for finding this clubhouse.
Yeah, I know. I was just like, we're gonna play it by ear. Hopefully something works out, and it did.
It always does.
It always does.
So with that being said, let's get started. Tell everybody who you are, what you are, all the good stuff.
My name is LostInVegas, and I am born and raised from Vegas, Las Vegas, Nevada. I currently live out here in Los Angeles, and I make music. My mom was a PE teacher, and my dad was an electrical foreman. So my dad pretty much saw the electrical side of things on the Strip. So he worked on the Venetian, New York, the Wynn, Bellagio, and some other ones. He pretty much has his hands all over the Strip out there. So if you see the lights, well, obviously you're going to see the lights, but every time you see the lights, just know my dad probably has something to do with that, which is really cool and ironic at the same time. So yeah, I grew up in Vegas, and my first love was soccer, and I started playing soccer when I was around 4 or 5. My parents, I was just naturally athletic, so my parents were kind of figuring out where's the best way to, or what's the best place to put him. I tried basketball, I tried baseball, I tried tennis, I'm pretty sure. And soccer, I remember touching the soccer ball for the first time. I was like, oh shit, like it's going down. Um, and I was just really fast, so I was just running past everybody. Um, yeah, so I played soccer for, I mean, majority of my life. That led me to a lot of amazing places playing soccer. So I got to play on the regional team. I got to practice with like the national team and do that. Um, I it got me to play at one of my favorite high schools, which was Bishop Gorman, which was like a huge deal because they were nationally ranked, and that was like if you were a number one, like if you were really into soccer and like just athletics in general, like you knew about Bishop Gorman, and so that was a really big deal. I got to win 2 state championships with Bishop Gorman, which was really cool. We were named Sports Illustrated high school soccer team.
Wow.
Yeah, 2 years in a row, which was really cool. My freshman year and my sophomore year, so I really like came in with a bang. So after high school, I got a scholarship to go to St. Louis, and I like was familiar with the Midwest just because my dad's from Wisconsin. So like I knew about the humidity, you know what I mean? Like I knew about like all that stuff, but I did not know about the cold. So like that was a whole culture change. And the school that I went to, it was a Division 1 school, but it was in the small town called Edwardsville, and it was like everybody knew each other. Like we were the only young kids like in this town, which was really funny. So it was a huge culture shock to me, like actually living in a place like that. And I got to meet a lot of really cool people. I redshirted my freshman year, and I was gonna go out with a bang my sophomore year, and pretty much spend like 5 years there. 4 years actually playing soccer. My first year would have just been training and just getting familiar with like the program and stuff like that. And then eventually just playing pro. I had my eyes set on a couple professional teams in the MLS, like Chicago Fire and some others. But everything all changed when I actually met my friend who played tennis at the school I went to. And we were like best friends. Like it was like one of those like friendships where like we just did everything together.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like
I was,
platonic soulmates.
yeah,
basically.
I was like, yo, bro, like it was funny. Like we were just like we could have had a show. Like that's how crazy it was. But we were just like chilling in his dorm room, and like we were just drinking, and like he was like, yo, dude, like have you ever thought about making music? And I was like, I have actually. I've thought about it. Like in high school, my only creative outlet was art, and just as like a something else to say too, during like my adolescent years, I was either playing soccer or I was making art or writing poetry. So those were my 2 creative outlets, like when I wasn't playing soccer. So I would always just write raps though, like just for fun. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this would be cool if I like rapped. Like it didn't go anything further than that until I met my friend, and he did the same thing, and he actually taught me how to like to record myself, to rap. And like I forget what kind of program he had on his computer, but like I just remember like very quickly becoming obsessed with it. Like very quickly being like, wow, like this is really cool. Like I remember like hearing my voice for the first time, like when I was like rapping something that I wrote, like this poem I think, and I was just like mind blown. I was like, holy shit, like this is sick. And I was like 24/7 just like listening to it, like replay. I probably listened to that song like over 1,000 times, and like it was like the best thing I've ever heard. I was like, holy shit, this is crazy. Like I just did this. And even though like it and compared to just like an actual song, like it wasn't even close to you know what I mean? But like to me, I didn't care. Like this shit was crazy fire. And it kind of just like lit this fire inside me, and just like I just would just always be wanting to make music. Like I would go to the study room, and me and my boy, we got this like cardboard box, probably like this big, right? And then we got this like $200 mic at Best Buy, and our boy worked at Best Buy, which is funny because we were like, "Yo, dude, with the employee discount, we got like 20% off." So we were like,
You were really balling.
we were just like kings,
With your
kings.
20%
We were
off
just
coupon.
like, "Let's go, dude! Nothing can stop us." So yeah, we got the cardboard box, right? We got the microphone. We had pantyhose as like the mic filter. And like we were just like, we might as well have been just signed. Like we were like, we were like, bro, we got this. Like we're about to blow up, bro. We were making songs like, psh, dude, this is fire, bro. Like #1 hit. Like we were just hyped. We were just hyped, and I was hyped because I've never done that before. So I felt like I was discovering like this new like way of just like creating that. I was also like tapping into just like a whole, like, I don't know, it was just such like an adrenaline rush, and I haven't felt that since like at the time I haven't felt that since like it was that feeling like after you make a song, it was like that feeling that you get, that I got like after I scored a goal, you know what I mean? I was like, yes, like it was like all that hard work for that one moment, right? And I wasn't getting that with soccer. I was like actually getting really frustrated. So like as my love for soccer started to like kind of decline, my love for music started to incline. So obviously I'm gonna spend more of my time doing something that I like doing. It got to a point where I was like super depressed because I was still doing soccer, and soccer's like a 24-hour job, like, you know what I mean? Like, so I was like, I gotta do something, and I thought about it for months about like quitting, but at that time, like that dream wasn't just mine. It was like my parents' dream. It was like my coaches that like mentored me. It was like everybody that supported me for like 15 years of my whole life. Like that was their goal, like that was like we collectively had the same mission, and that was like, okay, cool, Austin's gonna get there. I'm gonna do whatever I can to make sure he does.
Right. And then you're sitting there like, I'm not gonna do this anymore.
Exactly.
I don't know how to tell them.
So I didn't tell him. I didn't tell him.
Great coping mechanism.
Yeah. Just run away from everything.
Run. Okay, so then what happened next? You didn't tell him, you just dropped out and ran away?
So, I remember like waking up in my girlfriend's bed at the time and looking up at the ceiling, and she left for work early, like actually earlier than I did, like at 3. She was like a nursing assistant. And my training was at like 4:30. And and it was snowing outside. And you know this,
Midwest winters.
Midwest, East Coasters, like y'all know this more than anything. When you're tired and you gotta get somewhere at 4:30 in the morning and it is freezing cold, you would.
No, that's like a pain worse than death.
Yeah, it's you
miserable.
Really have to be mentally like strong, like straight up.
It is not for the weak.
Yeah, like that is no joke. Y'all are crazy. But I just like didn't want to I just didn't want to do it no more. I just like sat there and I was just like, this is not what I want to do. Like, and I remember just like walking in the snow, like to my car, and sitting in my car, and I was already late, so I was like, I gotta do it. Like, it's already, like, I know what I need to do. It's just like actually, like, it's like ripping a Band-Aid off. You know what I mean? And it was just like that moment where you're just like, I got to. So I called him. He answered. He was like, yo, Austin, like, where you at? And I was like, yo, coach, like, I want to, talk to you about something. He's like, yeah, for sure. What's up? And I was like, yo, dude, I don't think this is, like, for me anymore. Like, I don't think I should be playing soccer. I think I need a break. Like, I need time to think and reevaluate things. And I thought he was gonna be mad. Like, I thought he was gonna be like, yo, what the fuck? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, it's scholarship or whatever, blah blah blah. And he was just like, okay, yeah, whatever you want to do. Like,
He probably knew.
we're always gonna be here for you. And honestly, yeah, he probably did, because like I would just like, there's a lot of situations that happened where I was like I got arrested. So like 2 weeks before, I think it was just like my internal, like it's funny because like when you're, what I realized too, like when you are doing the opposite of something you know you should be doing, it's a form of self-sabotagement, right?
Exactly.
Like, you know the truth, but you're going against it. You're like in this denial phase.
It's like a self-sabotage
Yeah.
thing.
And so it's like you see like I've noticed like at a point where there is like a huge decision to be made, a lot of really bad things start to happen. Like, with like, I noticed that with like a lot of my friends, because like they know what they need to do, but they're just too afraid to admit it, whether it be a hard decision or like something that like involves change or whatever. And like that's what I went through. I was like self-sabotaging myself, right? Like I wasn't following my purpose or what I loved doing. I was still going against it, which was making it a lot harder for me, and it would come out in like negative things. So like I remember like I got arrested, and like it was a big deal, and like I almost got like seriously injured and like seriously like hurt. And like I ran from the cops, and I had this like, I like hopped a fence and my shoulder popped out of my socket, and I was like just hanging on the fence, right? And like I was just like, the next day I woke up and I was just fucking bloody, like all this stuff, and I had to go to training the next day, and I'm my coaches already knew, like, and it was just something that I felt like they knew there's something was going on, right? And so yeah, I mean, when I made that phone call though, I felt good. Like, I was like, I was just like, oh man, I could breathe now. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I felt like I had a new fresh start, right? And I was like, cool, I'm gonna dive 100% of my energy into music. I did not tell my parents, so which honestly was like probably a good thing, because I didn't have their opinion like in my mind, like as far as like, oh, you got to do this or whatever. I just did what I wanted to do, right? And that was music. So I was like, I found out the engineers and the producers that were local. I became best friends with them. I found out the promoters for shows. I found out like how to open up for shows. I got a job, so I had money to like pay for studio sessions, and I was just in grind mode. Like I was like, let's fucking go. And then there got to a point where I was like, yo, like I don't think like I need to be here. Like if I'm not playing soccer, why am I here? Like it's just a small town. Like I'm like, my dreams are way bigger than where I'm at right now. And like everybody, like I was like different. Like I was just super different. Like I was in a school full of Midwest kids, like, and I'm dressed like this, like, you know, like with like I was like painting my nails then too, and nobody really understood that. Like I actually got made fun of for that. Like they just aren't, culture wise, like it wasn't aligned with like who I wanted to be, right? So I was like, if I'm gonna do anything with what I want to do, I need to move back to Vegas. And I knew I needed to move to LA, but at that time I still, like, my parents wanted me to graduate, so I was like, fuck, like I'll just go back to Vegas, knock out this degree real quick, and then go to LA. And then I moved to Vegas, and I was doing that. And at the time, you know, I was like doing music here and there. I was like hustling like on the strip, just like making money to like support myself like for music and stuff. And I was like either host, I was promoting, I was selling illegal substances. Yeah, I was just doing whatever I could. I was making mad money too. Like I was hustling. And I was like, and I was also like researching, like I was also like looking up like artists like Jim Morrison, and I remember I went through like a Jim Morrison phase, where I was just like, wow, like he really dedicated everything to his art, like to the point where he just lived, like slept on the beach, or like, you know what I mean, like I was like, if I'm gonna be an artist, I need to give 100% of myself to this, right? To prove to the universe that like this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
Rather than being half here, half there, like, you know what I mean? Like, in order to manifest, you can't be half in, half out. You have to be 100% in it. You
gotta
know?
clear the distractions.
Yeah, you gotta clear the distractions, and you gotta dedicate, like, really pinpoint, like, what even if you don't know what you want, pinpoint what it is you like want to do, like, and then it'll just figure itself out. So I was like, I'm just gonna just do it, right? I'm gonna fucking do it. I'm gonna do it, right?
I'm sensing a theme here.
Yeah, I'm just gonna fucking do it. Like, I just, like, fuck it. Like, honestly, like, all my decisions are just me being like, yo, fuck it, I'm just gonna do it. Like, this is how I feel, I don't care, right? And so I made that decision, but I'm still going to school, right? I'm still going to school. I'm still doing something that I didn't really want to do. And I remember coming back from school, and I think I, like, ditched, like, a couple classes because I was like, fuck this. Like, this is just, I was just, you know, you get to that point where you're just fed up, just like how I was with soccer, right? I was like, I feel the same fucking way. And I got back to school. I remember opening up my computer. I remember this day like it was literally yesterday. Like, it was so vivid. I opened up my computer. I'm at my dining room table. I go on Twitter on my computer. The first thing that pops up is a retweet from Modson. And it was this guy named JL. I didn't know who JL was at the time, but it was a tweet that said interns needed, email this, like, email address. And so I was like, fuck yes, like, this is it, right? So I emailed this long ass paragraph, actually, like, a couple paragraphs of just being like, yo, like, I deserve this, like, I have experience, like, I do art, like, I just named off everything, what I felt like he would, like, really love, being an intern at, like, a warehouse. And the last two sentences was, I also live in LA, 5 minutes away from the warehouse, and I also have transportation. At the time, I did have transportation, but I definitely did not live in LA. I was literally writing that email in Vegas. So yeah, I just sent it. I was like, fuck it. I sent it, and then I kind of forgot about it until the next day, and he emailed me back and was like, yo, dude, like, love how close you live to the warehouse, like, super convenient, and also love that you have transportation. Can you meet, can we have a meeting tomorrow, which was Friday, and then we could go over everything. And I'm just like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, do I have this, right? Yeah. So now I'm just like, okay, this is my perfect excuse to go out to LA, right? Because that's all I needed. I just needed just, like, a door to open up, like, for me to just go through, right? And which is so cool because I just knew I needed to be out there.
So then, what did your parents say? Because now they know about it.
Yeah, because I was living with them, so I left without, like, telling them. Like, they thought I went to school, class.
And you left to go to LA.
Yeah, and I left to go to LA. And I remember getting a phone call from my mom being like, hey, what do you want from dinner? And I was like, oh, Mom, like, I'm not going to be there for dinner. She was like, where you at? And I was like, I'm in LA. She was like, what? And I was like, yeah, I'm in LA.
Sorry, Mom.
I was like, we'll talk about this later. But they didn't know at the time of, like, what my plans were. And also I didn't know what the plans were either. I didn't know what was happening. I'm just, like, driving to LA to meet this dude named JL
for a warehouse internship.
Yeah, so I don't fucking know what's happening. So I did know at the time that my cousin lived in LA. And me and him were, like, talking, like, here and there and stuff like that, because he was, like, a DJ and stuff, and he found out I did music, and we just bonded through that. So I went to his apartment, and I was like, yo, bro, like, I gotta go to this meeting. Here's the address. Do you know where this is? And he was like, yeah, bro, that's like literally 5 minutes away. And I was like, fuck yeah. Like, what?
Your lie suddenly became truth.
Yeah, I was like, wait, like you like literally 5 minutes away, and I put it in, and it was fucking 5 minutes away, and it was so fucking crazy. And I was like, that's definitely a sign for me to be like, hey, look, like this is it. So I met up with J-Ho. He gave me the runaround, whatever, blah blah blah. I ended up getting it. I told my parents, I was like, hey, look, like, I really want to do this, like, all this stuff. And they're like, yeah, like, it's dope, but the only way you could do this is if you finish the semester. And so now I was like, okay, cool. I have to, like, go convince all my teachers now that I am still going to be finishing out the classes, but not going to be there.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know, like, participation and being there and having attendance is like 50% of the damn grade, like,
right?
Which is crazy. So I was like, fuck, okay. So I sat down with all my teachers and I was like, hey, look, like, this is what I want to do. Like, it's my dream, but I have to finish this in order to do this. Like, please, 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 like, please let me stay in the class and like let me do this and let me like prove to you guys that like I don't need to be in the class, like, and I could still be a student in here, whatever. And they're like, yeah, but you have to be back at test days. All of them said that. So I was like, okay, cool, dope. So what I didn't realize, though, like, I had tests, like, damn near every week.
Oh, no.
So I moved to LA. I'm sleeping on my cousin's couch. I'm working at the warehouse. I'm studying every chance I get, and then after I would work at the warehouse, I would drive 4 hours, 4.5 hours, sometimes 5 hours to go take my test, like every Thursday, Friday. So yeah, I was just like, just going. Like, I was just always going, like, just always studying, working, driving, test, study, working, driving, test. You know what I mean? Like, just like, let's fucking go. Like, this is my dream. You know what I mean? And then one day, me and my cousin got in a fight, so I had to sleep in my car a couple times. And then I had to sleep at the warehouse. And then JL one day was like, yo, Ma needs help moving out of his Laurel Canyon house, and you have a truck. Do you mind helping him? And I was like, fuck yeah, let's go. And so I went to Maud's son's house to help him move, and we got a bottle of Jack, and we just kind of kicked it. Like, we did some moving, but mostly drinking. And ironically enough, that day he found out he was going on the Alpha Mega Tour, which was super fucking crazy because when I met him, like, my agreement with my parents was like, just give me like a window of time, and then if not, like, I'll go back to school in the fall, right? So it was like August, so I was like, it was really cutting it close. So if nothing happened, I would have had to move back to Vegas and go back to school. So I was like, I don't know, I was just, like, a little stressed, like, just kind of figuring out, like, but this is what I wanted to do, so I knew nothing was going to stop me. But it was just crazy because when I first met Maud, he found out he was going on the Alpha Mega Tour, and then literally within 30 seconds, he looks at me and he asked me, he's like, yo, you want to go on tour? And I was like, wait, what?
Do
like,
I want to go on
yeah,
tour?
Like, do I want to go on tour? Yeah, I was like, what the like,
with Machine Gun Kelly?
And I was like, yeah, like, of course, like, and he was like, what can you do? And I was like, well, keep in mind, he really didn't know a lot about me. Like, we saw each other, like, randomly, but it wasn't like we were like, yo, like, we're homies. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
you were an employee.
I was shocked. I was like, what the yeah, of course. And he was like, what do you do? And I'm just like, I could do anything. Like, what do you want me to do? And I was like, well, I work at your warehouse and I do merch. Like, maybe I could do merch on tour or something. Like, I guess that makes sense. And then, so he's like, fuck yeah. Like, so we went on tour.
And when did that start? Like, how much time in between, like, did you have?
Yeah, so that was, a 2 month tour, and I think it was I can't remember when it actually started, but um, I just remember like just like find like I don't know. I just remember like I was super excited. Like the whole idea of tour in my head was completely different from what it actually was.
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question. Like, was it really a dream come true, or was it like a totally different
No, that's
thing?
when the work really started.
Yeah.
Like that was like holy fuck. Like I was mind blown because I thought it was gonna be like, yeah, we're gonna be having fun. Like we're gonna have such a blast. You know what I mean? Like fun, yeah. Fun, sick, let's go, positive, all this stuff. That shit, I've never worked so hard before in my life, off of just very little sleep.
It's a grind.
Yeah, and honestly though, like I was lucky that I had a background in soccer, because like I would have to do the same thing with soccer. I would have to do all of this work with like off of 2 hours of sleep. Mm-hmm. So that's what I was doing on tour. I was doing everything. I was doing merch. I was driving. I was like literally helping with whatever. I just remember hating merch.
Anything to get away from the merch table.
Yeah, huh? I was like, nah, bro. Like this shit sucks, dude. I did so bad at it.
But I feel like you kind of have to do like the crappy job that no one wants to do to cut your teeth.
Yeah, and it was I just remember like thinking to myself too, and I'm just like I got a lot of love from the like the EST squad, like Baze, Rook, and Slim, and fucking Dre, Kels. Like I wouldn't like talk to a lot, but because he obviously was just always busy or doing something or whatever. But it was all love though, which was like I don't know. I just felt so like welcomed, and it was cool because I didn't have clout and I didn't have experience. And I was like the only person on that tour that like didn't have either of those boxes checked off. So there was no reason for them to even like give me that. You know what I mean? Or give me that like respect or whatever, or even just like care enough to even just be like, hey, look, bro, like you're fucking up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that conversation happened a lot. Like I was fucking up. I was new to tour, and like that's when I learned like, oh wow, like there's actually like a certain type of etiquette that you need on tour. Like tour was actually like a huge learning curve for me on figuring out like understanding how to act like around people like of that like of you know what I mean, like who are what I would consider like the professional players of music.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I'm watching Kels perform at night. I'm watching Slim perform at night. I'm watching Rook. I'm watching Mod. I'm watching everybody do their thing, like at such a high caliber where like there is not any like room for mistakes, right? And here I am, like no experience, nothing, just making mistakes. You know what I mean? And they're like, you could obviously like sense that. You know what I mean? Like the difference in energy of just someone who is like a veteran and someone who's just like a freshman in it. And I was a freshman. I had made so many mistakes, and honestly I was supposed to get fired. I was really unhappy. I was like kind of depressed. Like I really hated doing merch. Like I don't know, like it just like was a weird feeling because it was something that I looked forward to like so much, but I just like hated it so bad. I was like, I don't know. I also had this like I was still in my shell, right? Like I learned a lot on that tour because when I was doing merch, I was watching the Kels and I was watching Mount, and I got angry because I was like, dude, I want to be on stage. Like I thought I try to make it like me, like the center of attention, and like me, like the artist. And I was like, that's what I want to be. Like, how come I'm not like there? Like, I looked at it in such like a very like narrow-minded way of thinking, right? And I just, the more I thought that way, the more like life was just like straightening me out to the point where at the end of tour I was like, wow, I actually have like a very long way to go. Like this can't be just handed to me. Like I have a lot to learn, and I have a long way to go, and I need to just sit back and study and not be a participant but be more of an observer and just be a sponge and just like learn to listen and not talk, because to me I felt like I was just talking, and I was like, people just assume that people would want to listen, but it's like, dude, like, shut up. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it was like that. You know what I'm saying? It was like this, like, it was like, what's that word for? Initiation phase, I feel like. And
you were kind of getting hazed.
I was getting hazed. I was, swear to God. And I was like sometimes even hazing myself.
Right. Well, and that's cool, though, that you
Yeah.
had that experience through them, because, I mean, Kels and Mod they both started with, like, literally nothing also. And they had to do that shit that they didn't want to do back then, which is probably why they understood and gave you the opportunity, which is awesome.
Super, super awesome. Super awesome. I'm honestly really grateful that, like, I don't know, everything happens for a reason, you know? And, like, I don't know, like, looking back, I love doing these interviews just because, like, I don't really, like, look back on my journey a lot. I do have those moments where I'm just like, wow, like, obviously, like, I'm grateful for just being where I'm at right now, because, like, I've had to go through a lot of shit to, like, get here. Like, I've had to fight, you know what I mean? Like, to just be here and just be, like, do what I want to do. And I feel like, you know, a lot of people don't know how to fight. I didn't know how to fight. I didn't, you know, like, Mod had to go through that same thing that I went through. Kels had to go through that same thing. Obviously not, like, indifferent in their own way. But I'm grateful that they, like what you said, like, were embracing, you know what I mean, and being like, yo, like, you can't do this, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just correcting me every time I would go left or right or whatever. And I was just honestly, like, really willing. I was willing to learn, and I think they saw that. Like, I was literally, like, down to do whatever it took. And I was like, yo, like, I didn't say this, but my energy was just like, hey, look, like, even if you, like, don't agree with what I'm doing, or if I'm fucking up or whatever, like, you gotta at least give me respect for trying.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So yeah, that's why, like, I do the same thing when I see people who, like, are, like, how I was. Like, I don't judge. Like, and it's so crazy to think, because, like, when you see somebody who's, like, fucking up, or, like, doesn't have an experience, or, like, whatever, like, your initial reaction is to judge. And to be like, yo, bro, like, why should I support you? You know what I mean? Or, like, why, you know what I mean? Like, our initial reaction is to create this, like, oh, I'm above you. You know what I mean? And it helps me, like, it helps my perspective with people who I see who are, like, in my position, because now when I see somebody like that, like, I'm just like, bro, like, you're good. Like, just keep on, just make as many mistakes as possible, just figure it out. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna hate you for it. Like, I'm just, keep it up, just keep on doing, just, if this is what you love, just keep it up. Like, just make sure, just know that, like, there needs time, that you can skip levels and you could get famous, but like there's a lot of different ways to get it. You know what I mean? Like, you could be famous, but you still got a lot to learn, but you're going to be learning in front of the public eye, so it's going to be a lot harder.
Well, and fame is, like, obviously everyone wants to be famous or whatever, but when you're passionate about what you're doing, like, it matters, because obviously you need people to know who you are, but at the same time, it's like, when you love what you do and you're, like, convinced that it's the thing, like, getting to the fame is almost kind of like a secondary. Right?
Yeah, it felt good to, like, people seeing that, right? Like, the work that you do behind the doors, and, like, people seeing that, like, that's, like, a really, like, that's a great measurement of success. Like, okay, cool, like, I'm going down the right road. But my perspective has changed a lot about the idea of fame, just because I've seen, like, I've been around people that, like, I know personally who are famous, who, like, they just are always struggling with it. And I know, like, obviously, like, you know, like, I'm gonna be a point where I'm gonna be in front of a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that I've been through all these experiences, though, because I know exactly how to act, and I know that it doesn't matter. And like putting that value into this idea of fame is extremely, extremely toxic.
Mm-hmm.
And I switched my perspective to being like, well, why do I want to be famous? Like, why do I want to be known? And the common denominator is because I want to be a servant. Like, I want to serve like people. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I want to be there for like people. Like, I want to be that light for people. And I feel like I want to make the biggest impact I possibly can, like, while I'm on this earth.
I love that.
And that's like my common denominator. That's like my mission statement. Like, whatever puts me in a position where I could help people, whether it just be like somebody on the corner, like at a gas station, or like people who support me at one of my shows. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's like my main like mission statement. I got to see that. I got to see how Kels treated his fans. I got to see how Mod treated his fans. And there's no separation. It was like, yo, like, we are all one.
Mm-hmm.
And like, we're all here for a reason, because we love music, and we love like feeling this way, and like we love like finally like being a part of a community that, you know, like in this life, like, it's really hard to like, you know, like a lot of us are outsiders.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Or like felt like we were, or whatever. And like, here we all are, like, with this one common like love, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so like I just like been moving like with that like in my heart, as far as like this is it, you know what I mean, to the point where like, yo, we only got one life, and it's extremely short.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like I'm gonna die, you're gonna die, our loved ones are gonna die. That's just the fact of life. Like, I don't give a fuck if I gotta sleep in my car. I don't care if I gotta go broke for it. Like I found, you know what I'm saying, like, what like I want to do. So
Right. The experience is what is the most precious and worthwhile part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When you got off like doing the tour, and you hated the merch, and you wanted to, like, you know, you took everything that they had said. Fast forward to when you got to actually perform, and it was like your time to actually go on and be like you got to open for Modson and stuff. Mm-hmm. What was that like? That first time that they were like, okay, yeah, you're actually gonna go on stage and you're actually gonna perform your songs.
So yeah, my first experience was, obviously, I was petrified.
I remember, like, I'm pretty sure I like saw you perform like for the first time, like one of the
Really?
first shows. Yeah, you were like just this skinny kid with like a wife beater on, and it was. I saw you at this first time, but I think it was maybe like the Subterranean in Chicago, just like a very small venue. Like, I don't know, it's probably like 4 or 5 years ago, maybe.
So that was when I was Austin.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I wasn't even lost in Vegas.
You weren't even lost in Vegas.
Yeah.
You were just Austin.
Yeah.
Yes. And I remember, like, Mod was like,
my
it was on
God,
the.
I remember that.
I think it was the BB tour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I only did I do 2 songs or 1 song?
I don't know, maybe 2.
Okay, so
but
that
I remember
was like one of
seeing
my
you.
first
And
shows. There.
yeah.
The only reason why I asked that, because I had 2 songs at the time that I made with Mod.
Yeah.
One was I Know a Man, and that was like kind of like a singing like slow song, and I wasn't used to singing slow songs, especially on stage. I remember, I think it was actually that show where I performed those 2 songs, and I remember going on the tour bus like after I performed, and Mod was like, yeah, maybe we should like not do that song. And I was like, fuck, dude, man. So I only did 1 song that whole tour, and I was just like, I forget what it's called. But yeah, so I was just, I don't know, bro. I was like so, I was so new to it. Like I didn't know how to do nothing. Like I didn't know how to be charismatic. I didn't know how to look at the audience. I didn't know how to like project my voice. That was a whole issue, was me actually like projecting my voice and using my voice. I was very much hidden and like in a shell and like just like, you know what I mean? Like I wasn't like confident, you know?
Yeah.
And it took me like 2 3 tours to like just a lot of trial and error and just being like, all right, I know what I need to do now. I've made enough mistakes and like enough like I've had enough failures to be like, okay, cool. I know not to do those things. So now I just gotta. It's really just building that confidence to being like, hey, look, like I just really don't care. Like for real, like performing is really just not caring. Like and like when I stopped caring on just like what like people thought of me, if I made a mistake or not, you know, because that was like my whole thing. I was like, fuck, if I make a mistake, like everybody's gonna see it, everybody's gonna hear it, and I was like, fuck, like, you know what I'm saying?
But
like
realistically, no one's even gonna really know that
like
you made a
nobody
mistake.
knows though, like
Exactly.
if you make a mistake. So it's like really just like a battle between like just like what we were talking about earlier, you know, it's just what you think. And I finally, like the last tour that ended up getting cut, like I felt I was like a butterfly, like I was flapping my wings, like I was ready to go. You know what I mean? Like you saw, like, and you saw my last show too. So
Yeah,
like,
I've seen you a few times, and it was interesting because I hadn't seen. I think I maybe followed you then after that first show when you were still Austin, but I didn't go to any shows for a couple of years. It was maybe like 2 or 3 years later I saw you, and it was like you were a totally different person, and it was I was really impressed. I remember when this dude was like so scared to sing, and like and now you're like a freaking rock star upstairs. Like it was great.
Thank you.
I was happy to see that you had like found your footing.
Yeah. That's why I love my like journey as an artist, because and you know, shout out to Mod for obviously putting me in this position, and giving me the opportunity to do that, like to perform and to like find out that about myself, you know what I mean, and like discover that, you know, like about myself. And what I'm trying to say is, like, I feel like everybody who supports me has has supported me from the beginning, and have seen me from being an artist before I was lost in Vegas to where I'm at now. And I feel like it's just like this growth. Like y'all are here on like every aspect of my career. You know what I mean?
It's
From
cool
like
to
when
see.
I first started to like what now, I'm like I'm like in my bag now, and like I'm like figuring out like, okay, like this is where I want to be, like this is the sound I want or whatever, blah blah blah. But like y'all are really here for my growth. Like we're all growing together. Like y'all like really been a part of my life, like a very big part of my life, like from when I first started to right now, and to we're just gonna all go to the top together. So it's like really cool.
That's amazing. So how did everything kind of change for you when you really had that realization that you wanted to kind of do more and be more, and it wasn't just all about you, I guess?
So it was really like as of recently, like, well, I was underneath Mod as far as like being an artist, like technically you could say I was his artist, right? So I felt like I needed to dive into me being an artist more, like, and so I decided to just do it on my own. And that's when I found out that, like, that's when I figured it out, because I had so much time to like really, like, who is Lost in Vegas, like what do I have to offer, like what drives me, like why am I even doing this, you know what I mean, like why am I sacrificing like all this time, like all this money, like all this hard work, and like all this shit to like do this, you know, like is it to get attention, or is it for like a different reason? And that's when I came to that like conclusion, like I look back on like even why like when I was like 5 years old or 3 years old, like I just remember it really wasn't about the attention. It was about like how I made people feel.
Mm-hmm.
I I got addicted to like seeing my mom and dad, you know what I mean, like super proud of me, or like I would get I got addicted to like you know, like inspiring like other teammates to like work hard, you
Mm-hmm.
know, which is why I was the captain of every single soccer team, because I was that leader, you know.
Right. Seeing them win is what your win was.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And like every time I would win, it would be a collective. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because like I would score the goal, but it would be a whole team effort.
Exactly.
You know? So and like that's exactly how music is, and that's exactly how like, you know, like accomplishing a goal like in a collective, like whether it be just like you and your boyfriend, or you and a team, or you and a company, or whatever, like you have that always. And
You can't do
and
anything alone.
yeah, yeah, and I came to that conclusion as of recently, and I just kind of was like, I'm not gonna force this into existence. Like, I'm just gonna keep on doing what I love doing, and then um, that's when I started attracting just like all of these like opportunities, these like situations, like you know, like amazing people in my life to actually like help me like get to
Mm-hmm.
the next level and like
Isn't that
really
amazing?
do that. Yeah, no, I
Like,
was just like, it's so like I feel like I'm always in flow state. Like I'm always just like I feel like I'm on the lazy river, right?
mm-hmm.
But like really, I'm just doing what I like, just doing it. You know what I mean? Like I'm just doing it. Like if it feels so easy. Like once I had that realization, I realized how simple and how easy actually everything is, because
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter. It literally does not matter, whatever situation you're in. Like it does not matter at all. Like
Mm-hmm.
like it does, as long as you're doing, as long as you're following something that you love doing, right? So like I could be homeless, I could be in a car, I could be broke, I could be like stealing something from the grocery store, I could be doing whatever, you know what I mean? Like, and I've done all of those things,
Right.
but like I was never like depressed. Like the only time I was depressed was when I wasn't doing what I wanted to do.
Exactly.
But like I was just I was like, yo, like this shit don't matter. Like I'm still doing this. Like,
Right.
you know what I
Exactly.
mean? Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing it. Like, like irrelevant things that like we make so important, like in our society, like is they're not relevant. Actually, they're distractions. They're
Mm-hmm.
we're conditioned to believe that all of these things that we need, like to survive, but we actually don't.
Exactly.
We don't need anything to survive, and we just need that like one small thing, and that's like the love for something, and that's
Mm-hmm.
like your purpose. Like wherever you love, whatever you enjoy doing, do that, and it's really simple.
It sounds so easy, and it really is easy. But like, why do you think it's so hard?
Well, a lot of it has to do with what I just said, where
Mm-hmm.
we are like from a young age like really conditioned to believe that we have to live a certain way,
Mm-hmm.
that we need certain things, that we are there's ideas that have been implanted into our psyche where like, okay, I need to have this job, I need to go to this school, I need to do this sport, I need to be like this, I need to dress like this, I need to act like this, I need to go here during this time, I gotta go out and drink with my friends I gotta do this, you know, I gotta do drugs, I gotta whatever. Now I feel depressed, now I need more drugs, or like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're all just
Mm-hmm.
like led down like such a dark road already.
It's a system to keep you sick.
Yeah, like we're already like in this like society, like just thrown into this society that we don't even like. At the end of the day, it's just like so toxic. Like
Yeah.
society is really toxic, right? Like just mentally, like, and just like how we're programmed to believe that these things are. And I feel like a lot of my journey is like unlearning it, and like unlearning a lot of these things and going against it, honestly. Like I was supposed to play professional soccer. I was supposed to get a college degree. I was supposed to probably be a soccer coach, or you know what I mean, like be a teacher maybe. I don't know, but like I just knew there was something more than just that. Like
Right.
I was like, even playing soccer, I was like, yo, like this is like what's after this, like you know what I mean, like how am I supposed to change people? Like obviously you can change people's lives playing soccer, you know, by athletes looking up to you and stuff like that, but like what's more, like what's out there, you know? I was so curious on just like we're funneled into this.
It's interesting that you say that, because like a lot of these, I feel like a lot of people struggle because they get put into a box and they're compartmentalized. Like me, like I was supposed to go to college, get a degree, get a job. Yeah, I noticed the lights turned off.
Yeah. Oh well.
I think it's okay.
Yeah, we good.
Yeah, you know, like you gotta get a degree, you gotta get a job, and then like I had my daughter when I was 18, and then it was like, oh, you're gonna be a high school dropout welfare mom for the rest of your life, and that's what you have to be because you messed up and you didn't do what you were supposed to do. Well, like, and it was pretty much like when they told me that, I was like, okay, well, watch me do something else.
Yeah.
And it is interesting, like, trying to go to college. See, like, you, like, I actually went to college, like, I think 3 times. Yeah, I dropped out of college 3 times. And every time I was like, man, this just doesn't feel like it's what I'm supposed to do. But I'm told that this is the only way to save myself from my poor decision of having a baby. And, like, when I finally gave up on that and was like, okay, what everyone is saying I need to do isn't working for me, so I need to just do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And so far it's been great.
Yeah.
But I'm not always. But so what would you, 2 questions. First, what advice would you give for somebody who is like at the bottom, they're in their box that they were prescribed, and they see where they want to go, and they know that they want to do a thing, whatever it is, if it's music, acting, writing, like whatever. What advice would you give them for like how to take the first step, because it's always the hardest?
So I just got asked this question recently too, and I've been thinking about it. When I first got asked that question, in another interview I said just keep going. And as simple as that sounds, there's a lot of like layers to that, right?
Yeah.
Because when you keep going, you are pretty much just like walking in this, you feel like you're walking in like a swamp, right? Like with weights on your feet, right? Like walking up a mountain, right? Where like you see like the top of or maybe you can't see the top of the mountain, you know what I mean? But you know there is a top there, you know what I mean, that you want to get there, and that's like your goal, right? But you're exhausted, you know, and like you're just it feels like you're banging your head on the wall, right? And as long as you keep on going through that and pushing through those emotions, and that negative talk, and just drowning out that negative talk, and just being like, hey, look, like I'm not there now, but I will be within time, at the right time. I will be. And just having faith like in the universe that that is what is going to happen, because it don't matter what situation you're in, it don't matter how much experience you've had, how talented you are, if that's what you really want to do, it's going to happen if you keep going.
On hustle beats talent every time.
Exactly. I'm not the best singer, I know that. I'm not the best writer, I know that. I never was, and I honestly don't even have a lot of experience, and that a lot of those emotions, like I felt like I was like undeserving of it because of that, because I saw people who like went to Berkeley of music, and like this
Right.
is their life, and like, you know what I mean, they played piano since they were 5, and I was like, I felt like I was like an imposter.
The imposter syndrome. Yeah.
And then I realized, I was like, hey, look, that don't matter, because now I look back at them and I'm in a way different situation than they are. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, wait, how did this happen? It's because I hustled and I worked. So anything is possible. It don't matter about any of those things. Like, also too, like, kind of on like, just understand wherever you put your attention towards, that is what is going to grow.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're just like, oh man, I'm not at the top, or like people are sleeping on me, or like whatever, like you are putting your attention into the wrong things, and you're putting your energy into the wrong things, because that is going to grow. The only thing that you are going to see are the people who don't listen to your music. And reality check, we live in a very, very, very big world. There's going to be a lot of people to do that, because I know for a fact you could be even famous and people are still going to not listen to you, and they're also going to talk shit about you. So you got to get used to that, right?
At every stage.
At every stage. So if you are just beginning, just know wherever you put your attention towards is what's going to grow. So learn and train yourself to direct your attention into positive things, that are positive growth and positive changes that are actually happening to you, whether they be big wins or small wins, because that is what you want to grow. And it's like a plant. Like, you're watering the plant that you know is like, oh, okay, like I see the buds growing, like we got some action, you know what I mean? Like, okay, cool, I'm gonna keep on watering it, I'm gonna keep on nurturing it, or whatever. These are weeds. I'm not gonna just, why would I water weeds, you know what I mean, in a garden?
Exactly.
Like, I want to water a beautiful rose bush, or like a fucking like lemon tree or whatever. I don't know. Like, anything.
Before the rose became a rose bush and the lemon tree became a lemon tree, like there was a ton of work that went on underground, like in the dark with the roots, before it ever did its thing.
Exactly.
Made lemons.
We honestly, you could learn a lot just by studying nature. Like, for real, nature is a mirror to who we are and how we think. So like, that's a perfect example, honestly. And so if I were to give any advice, it would be that. And then like, I don't know, there's gonna be a lot of extremely hard times, so just know that it's not gonna be easy, you know, and everything is meant for a reason, and you're put in that situation to learn something.
Exactly.
So find out what that seed
And if
is.
the same thing keeps happening over and over again in different circumstances, chances are you haven't learned the lesson yet.
Yes. Very true, very true.
Yeah. So my second question is, like, looking up above yourself and like looking at people who are maybe really successful in their craft or very famous or whatever it is, and they are doing so well, but they're not feeling good about any of it. They're like, well, I'm, a celebrity, or I have $1 million, or I did the thing, like, but I'm not feeling satisfied, or I'm not, I'm subscribing still to this like toxic whatever. And I'm sure you see it a lot here in LA of just, well, and you hear about it all the time, like celebrities just totally like self-destructing on themselves because
100%.
the money doesn't solve the actual problem. So what advice or what would you want to say to people that are in that experience right now?
That's a good question. I feel like us as humans, like, from a biological standpoint, we have how can I say this? Like, we have our conscious brain and we have our subconscious brain, right? So like, a lot of like traumatic experiences we haven't dealt with, like a lot, like even traumatic experiences that we can't even remember. Like, our body remembers that, and it's stored in your brain and in your memory and in your consciousness, like, somewhere in there. And the thing is, like, it comes out like with behavior and with emotions and with feelings and with like how you see the world or how you see love or like what your perspective is like, and it comes out like that. So if you're ever wondering why, like, oh man, like why, like I can't, like why can I not fall in love, or like how come I can't like appreciate this, or like like I finally have everything I wanted and I'm still not happy. Well, this is the thing, like happiness comes from inside you. And that's what I was saying earlier. It doesn't matter where you're at. It doesn't matter your circumstance. Like, it does not matter. You could be a homeless dude. I've seen homeless people who are literally so happy.
Yeah.
It makes me reevaluate, like, how I look at my life. You know what I mean? I've also seen people who have everything that I would ever want in the world and be extremely depressed. So, like, obviously it's not what you have that's going to make you happy. You have to completely detach yourself from material things and, like, outside, like, circumstances. And you can't be dependent on people or things to give you that feeling, because you're going to always be depressed, or you're always going to find yourself, like, in that same position of, like, wow, like, I thought maybe making this movie was going to make me happy, and then you're depressed, or, like, then you're just as in the same position. That's the thing. You have to look inward, and you have to do a lot of, like, shadow work. You have to, like, our body is an antenna. Like, our body is just a power plant. You know what I mean? There's blockages that could happen. There's disalignments that could happen. There's disconnection, like, from your soul, from your mind, and from your heart. If those three things aren't aligned, then chances are, like, there's probably going to be some, like, weird things that are going to happen externally, you know, to, like, mirror that, because what's on the outside is what's on the inside. It's just a mirror. What's upward is what's down here, you know what I mean? It's just like everything is a mirror. So, like, if you are feeling that way, that's your body telling you to make a change and to really look inward and to figure out, like, okay, cool, like I have to silence my mind and see where the problem is.
Yeah, that's a good answer. And I think it kind of ties back to what we were talking about earlier, like, about how, like, you know, the mortality of existence is, like, nothing is permanent. Literally nothing is permanent, even the best stuff. Yeah. Like, there's always going to be good, there's always going to be bad. You have to have bad in order to really experience good. Yeah. And you have to have, I think, good to experience bad. And, like, bad things are actually good things in disguise. Yeah. Like I said on a different episode, is that I think that success is actually just failure wrapped up in a pretty bow. Because it's basically just, like, if you look back, it's always just a domino of falling on your face and getting kicked in the teeth over and over and over again. It's
all about perspective. Like, we were talking about this, like, on the way to this room. You know what I mean? Like, I'm always, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, nothing bad could happen to me. Like, I feel like I'm, like, unfuckwithable. Like, you could, like, people could say whatever they want to say about me right now. They could not fuck with me. They could, I don't know. Like,
but you fuck with
I
you.
could have a flat tire, which I did the other day, and I was like, well, I'm in this situation. Me being mad isn't gonna get this tire fixed. You know what I mean? Like, you just gotta, like, it is what it is. You just gotta, like, having that, like, knowing that, you'll have no issues. I'm telling you, like, yeah, like, there's gonna be some things that are gonna be hard to, like, you're gonna have to really, like, be like, yo, like, this is gonna be good. You know what I mean? Like, bawling, like, your eyes out. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is for a reason. Like, I have those moments too. But, like, generally speaking, like, a lot of bad things that happen to you, like, if it don't matter in 3 years, like, this is a weird thing about that saying. Like, they always say, like, if it's not gonna matter in 3 years, then why be upset about it? I always think about that. As far as just trivial things, right? Like drama or like
the flat tire.
Girls or flat tires, or, you know what I mean? Like just trivial things that could happen outside of our control every single day, right? That could potentially ruin our days if we let it. But the thing is, you got to have control over those emotions. You got to know that isn't gonna matter in 5 years. But things like more substantial things, you know, like life-changing moments, right? Like quarantine, or like we had to stop tour, you know, like in that moment we had to stop tour because of COVID. In that moment, that was like devastating. I was like, fuck, dude. Like I was so looking forward to going on tour and like performing and meeting people and stuff like that.
Well, that's
like,
a lot of money lost too.
I don't know how Ma did that. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
or how anybody.
And he was an independent artist too. Like, that's that's a huge, like, I was mad. I can't imagine how Mod felt. Like, we are on a tour bus. That shit is expensive.
And those shows that you're like supposed to be driving to are supposed to pay for that bus that you already have.
Yeah, exactly.
And regardless of if you do the shows or not, you still have to pay for the bus.
Exactly. Like, there's a lot of money, and I'm just like, dude, like, shit.
Yeah. And sometimes that's all you can do is just be like,
fuck, dude. But like, honestly, like, looking back on it, like, as weird as this says, like, if that didn't happen, a lot of the events after that wouldn't have happened either. And a lot of the events that happened, like, were very huge experiences for me, and I'm sure a lot of people experienced them too. Like, I feel like there's a lot of growth, and there's a lot of like questioning, and a lot of like overcoming a lot of insecurities, like, through this position. I feel like we all got forced to deal with all of our issues.
The universe was like, excuse me.
Like, we all just got forced to just grow. And like, you either did it or you got worse. You know what I mean? And like, that's another thing that happened too. Like, a lot of it split everybody, right? So everything happens for a reason, but like, just don't let little things like ruin your day or like ruin it. But just know, like life is a magical, like, once you realize life is extremely magical, and like, life is a beautiful experience. And like, once you like tell yourself that, and once you write your story as something like that, like, I'm living in a magical place, like, anything could happen.
Once you decide, like, my life is going to be amazing, even when stuff sucks.
Exactly.
It's still
like,
amazing.
It's really that simple.
And
like,
it's amazing
I swear
how
to
quickly
God,
it
like,
goes.
it is so simple. It's hard to, like, because our natural instinct is to think the complete opposite, because we're like what I said, born and conditioned to think this way.
Just because that's your initial thought, it doesn't mean it has to be your only thought. And like, you are not your thoughts either. That's an important thing to remember. It's like, kind of like what you were saying earlier, is like taking like a different perspective and looking at it like, okay, like, I'm experiencing this thing, but this thing is not what or who I am, so
it doesn't define you.
No, not
like,
exactly.
I've said this too before, where I was like, I remember doing this interview, and I said, I'm only here because of the mistakes I made. And I was like, don't be afraid to fail, but also what I left out, and I thought about this, was those thoughts that you have, or those mistakes that you have made, does not define you. That's not your identity. You know?
Exactly.
A lot, we identify with the story that we tell ourselves, right? And we convince ourselves that this is the reality of the situation, right? Where you could think you're extremely ugly. And I look at you and I'm like, no, you're actually really beautiful, right? And it's just because I see you in a completely different lens. I have a different story of you. But who's wrong and who's right?
Nobody.
Exactly. There is no wrong or right answer. So if you are going to be the director of your movie, or if you're going to be the author of your own book, why not write a beautiful book?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
why not, like, make it beautiful? Why not be like, you know what? Like, I'm beautiful. I'm beautiful. The only reason why you don't think you're beautiful or you're insecure is because of the story that you have allowed yourself to believe. And other people, you've allowed other people's opinions to write your story on how you see yourself, right? And I know that because that's what I did when I was in middle school. Like, I hated myself. You know what I mean? Like, I thought I was so, like, I had red hair, extremely white skin. I was always sunburned. I had blonde eyebrows. Nobody that I knew looked like me. I was like, what the like, why? You know, I would darken my eyebrows. I'd wear makeup. I would, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just do things to fit in. And, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's not, like, no. Like, you're a unique individual. Now I know, like, yo, like, being different is an actual power. It's not
It's an asset.
Yeah, it's an asset. So, like, if you think of yourself as different and, like, you think of that as, like, a negative thing, it's not. It's a beautiful thing. Like, because, like, you're the only person. Like, that's you. Like, nobody else is like you. Like, embrace that. You know what I'm saying? And, like, I've learned to embrace that, where I'm just like, you know what, like, I am who I am. Like, this is me. I'm beautiful. Like, I obviously have my insecurities, you know, like, just, we're all human. But it's like literally just convincing ourselves and telling ourselves, like, hey, look, like if you're gonna be delusional, at least be, like, delusional in a good way. You know what I'm saying? Because that's really what it is. Like, we probably live in a simulation. So, like, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, I'm not trying to go on this rant, but think about this. Based on what I was saying earlier on, like, everything is a mirror. Social media and the algorithm is a mirror to how our psyche actually works. And the reason why my advice is for people who are just now starting is to be careful on where you put your attention towards. It's because look at the algorithm in Instagram. What they calculate what you look at. They calculate how much time you look at it. They calculate what you like. They calculate what stories you like, what photos that pop up on your Explorer feed that you look at, and they give you more of that. That's exactly what happens in life.
Yep.
We live in an algorithm.
That's why, like, it's a simulation. I agree.
Yeah, like, we live in an algorithm. That's the thing. Like, if I want to do something I love to do, then the universe is going to help me do it. It's going to, my news feed and my life is going to align with how I think about it.
Yep.
Right? So, like, if you're ever feeling that way, just know that you literally live in an algorithm.
Yeah.
Like, this life, like, there's, who the fuck knows, like, what's happening above us. Like, we live in an algorithm. I can't even say the word. But, like, it's all about perspective. And, like, you have to, like, change the way you look at things, right? And that's what gets me by.
I love it.
Yeah.
So, but that being said, what is next? Like, what are you doing now, and what are you doing in the future? And
yeah, so my next step is to just continually release songs and just be consistent. Like, that's my only goal right now, is just to be consistent. I have a lot of really good songs in my catalog right now, and I just want to make sure I deliver that to the people that follow me and support me, and to the world. Every time I release something, I want to grow, and I want my fans to be a part of my sound evolution, because, like, I'm already, like, a year and a half ahead. Like, I already am planning a year and a half. Like, all the songs that you guys are hearing are songs that I've made, like, last summer. And I'm way beyond, like, the now. Like, I'm planning on what I'm going to be releasing in December, like, what I'm going to be releasing next year.
That's great.
Like, what my sound is going to be like next year too. So I'm gonna take everybody sonically through a lot of different styles, right? So you're not gonna really know what the sound of Lost in Vegas is, because I'm gonna change it up on y'all. I'm gonna keep y'all on your toes, and then I'm gonna bring it back to, at the end of all of it, I'm gonna hone in on my sound, and that's gonna be it. And then that's when we all, like, it's gonna be a celebration. But for this summer on, I'm just putting out music, and it's just gonna, it might be something that you expected, or it might not, but I don't want to put myself in a box, right? I want y'all to understand that, like, I'm just gonna release whatever I feel like is good and whether I like. So, like, if we could all, like, approach it as, like, an open mind, especially because I feel like genres don't make any sense no more. Like,
No.
you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
we're all crossbreeding everything. So it's like when everybody asks me, like, what my genre is, I'm just like, go listen to my music and figure it out, like, yourself. Right. Like how I view my music is going to be completely different on how you view my music. It's just like an art piece. So
I love that.
I'm going to take y'all around the world, and we're going to end at a point where I feel like I'm going to be able to call home.
That's great.
As far as, like, a sound, and be like, this is it. Like,
That's
this
cool.
is my sound. But we're going to have fun along the way.
I
So
love
that's
your
my next
openness
step.
to experiment.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm in my experimenting phase.
That's the best.
Yeah.
That's, like, the most amazing thing.
Yeah.
Like, 20, 30 years from now, you're going to look back on this time and be like, that is why I am here now. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So where can everybody follow you, and, like, how do they listen to you and all the good stuff?
So yeah, y'all could follow me on my Instagram at GetLostInVegas. I have my website, www.getlostinvegas.com, and yeah, I guess that's pretty much it.
Yeah, just Instagram, website.
Yeah, just
You're
Instagram,
on, like, all of
website.
the major
And YouTube,
platforms.
just
Yeah.
Lost in Vegas.
Just look up Lost in Vegas.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have everything, like, linked in the show notes. So anybody listening, that's where you can go and click on it and follow him. And you definitely want to, because obviously, as you can hear, there's some big things coming, and, like, experimentation, and just a big old party over here.
Party.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you, like, so much for agreeing to meet with me. This has been so cool.
Yeah, it was.
And I'm very
so much
excited
fun.
for this
Thank
to
you.
come out and to share this, and just happy to be here in LA, and, like,
yeah, I know, right?
to be able to see this in-
I wish we could, like, give them, like, it's like, just imagine, like, a typical LA photo. Like, really.
Close your eyes and imagine beautifulness.
Yeah, beautiful.
And that's what we're, like, looking at, and that's
Yeah.
what we're experiencing right now.
Blessed.
So, and I hope that you feel the beautifulness coming through the audio.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Any final words or anything else?
No, I think I left it all out on the table.
Cool. Well, let's go get out in the sunshine then.
Yeah. Sounds
Awesome.
Good. See you guys.
Well, thank you so much. Goodbye. I hope you got some insights out of today's episode. Links to all of the products or anything that we discussed today will be in the show notes. Make sure you check that out. Also, give us a holler on Instagram. Tag us in your story, advancement_adversity_podcast. Tell all your friends about this super cool new podcast that you got going on here. We really appreciate you. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. We're having a blast. I hope you are too. My name is Hannah Trueblood. I'll see you next week.